Welcome to the Self-Healing Incidents solution, which we'll be covering in two parts. So let's look at part one, which is Incident Management Overview. Why manage incidents using a developer portal or an agentic engineering platform? Part of the reason for doing that is that there's a complex workflow to resolve these type of issues. We have to detect and diagnose the incident itself. We then have to start a process to address that incident. We need to research and operate all the different systems that will help us resolve the issue. And then we need constant communication and need to learn about exactly what happened after the fact. This requires integrations across a fragmented set of tools that can be very chaotic or complex. So Port, as originally a developer portal and now an agentic engineering platform, gives us the capability of aggregating all the correct data that we need from the different tools that would be part of this process. And besides the steps of the process, we always want to be able to visualize and manage the incidents. And then long term, we'd like to learn from that so we can prevent them and actually minimize more of them happening. So let's jump into Port and see some examples of things like alerts and dashboards. So here we can see the production alerts dashboard. And at the top here, we have some self-service actions that will help us trigger an incident if the alerts that we're getting seem to need to cause a real incident. And then we'd also want to be able to communicate for that incident once it occurred. So opening the Slack channel would be important as well. Now, when we think about where alerts might come from, they can come from a variety of systems, and Port can easily integrate with those systems to make sure that we get the information quickly. So here we can see we're integrated with New Relic, and there are a number of different types of alerts that have popped up, but we also have alerts coming in from Sentry, and we have alerts coming in from Falco, and we have alerts coming in from Prometheus. So we may need to actually look at several of these different alerts to try to determine if all of these are about the same types of issues or different types of issues. And maybe some of these are side effects and aren't real incidents that we would need to identify. So once we had an alert that we believed was actually true, then triggering that incident with our incident management tooling. And here we're seeing an example of PagerDuty, but this could be OpsGenie, it could be Incident.io, and many others. So we do have the capability of gathering the info and triggering incidents for other types of systems. Now, once the incident begins, we might want to come to a centrally located place where all the important information is aggregated so we can have an incidents dashboard. And here we can see ongoing incidents. We can see where the particular services they're coming from, if it's been recently triggered, who it might be assigned to, and who needs to look into more things. We can also, for some of the incidents that are occurring, seeing who's on call. And then we could double check, have the services that are having trouble actually been deployed today or something similar. That would help us be able to get to the right service quickly and get to the people who can help. And here again, you can see we have a quick set of links to do different types of actions that might help us resolve the incident. So by Port setting up all of these integrations ahead of time, it saves us context switching. It saves us time of aggregating this data so that we can act more quickly. For several of these types of incidents, we can actually see if we believe this is a full-blown incident, we could acknowledge that incident, and then we could begin trying to generate fixes. So there are actions that Port can provide that are contextually aware of what's happening with that particular service and how it might help us resolve it. So if we needed to deploy a new image or roll back the deployment of a particular service, all of those things can be built into the dashboard itself so that these actions are quickly available when we need them. Now, beyond that, we'd probably want to understand other pieces of information, maybe like the EC2 environments, what the cloud resources look like, what type of production deployments have occurred recently, And when these production and deployments have occurred, did everything sync up and it's healthy, or are some of these services actually out of sync? So here we can see a quick overview of some of the deployment types, environments, and the health of things that would be potentially related to those incidents, so that we can gather that information more quickly. Now, at a higher level, once we're going through and we start the alerts, we've got the incident being managed and solved. At different times, we may want to then, at a higher level, at a management or executive level, begin to create scorecards that can tell us about how well different teams are doing and whether or not they're the ones causing certain types of incidents. So we can check on their coding and their PR metrics, their code quality, the security quality, and then we can begin looking at the monitoring and the number of standards that they're following that should prevent the types of issues that would be coming up. And then we can not only kind of see that for the services themselves, but we may want to understand that better on a per team basis. So being able to get the metrics back from the tooling and the processes that we're creating, as well as showing how all of this relates to the individual teams, can be very insightful and helpful so that we reduce incidents in the future. Now, as we continue to make progress with understanding these services, we would want to improve those workflows and then take those workflows to be able to be more autonomous and potentially even add agents. So that's it for this incident management overview. If you're interested in seeing how agents can become part of this so that we can get to a self-healing incident solution where agents can help us with a lot of the steps in the workflow, go ahead and check out the next video that deep dives into the agentic side. Thanks for listening, and have a great day.